There's a man who killed more innocents than Hitler, Stalin, and Genghis Khan, yet few in the Western world even know him. That man is Mao Zedong. Many can't fathom how 60 million people could die in the pursuit of societal progress, except the dominoes that fell in order for Mao to enact evil on such an unfathomable scale might actually sound more familiar than you think. Mao led a cultural revolution as a means to purify society from the bourgeoisie, aka the privileged. The youth were organized into a militant-like activist group called the Red Guards, which played a pivotal role in implementing his vision. The Red Guards, composed mainly of students, fervently followed Mao's call to destroy the old. This led to widespread destruction of cultural artifacts, historical monuments, and persecution of perceived enemies of the revolution. Schools were shut down, intellectuals were sent to rural areas for re-education, and traditional Chinese culture was condemned as part of the Four Olds to be eradicated. The economy suffered severely during the Cultural Revolution, with production declining, infrastructure neglected, and social order breaking down. The pursuit of ideological purity came at the cost of economic progress and social stability. Now, I'm not going to claim that the cultural shift the Western world is experiencing is exactly like Mao's Cultural Revolution, but rather, I wish to try and describe the mechanism which led China into tyranny and let you decide for yourself. However, if before we get into things you wouldn't mind subscribing to our channel and liking this video, that would be greatly appreciated. Many people look at the politically enraged youth of today and think that they're stupidly harmless. However, Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution illuminated the dangers of a radicalized and weaponized youth. Mao believed that by mobilizing the younger generation, he could ensure unwavering loyalty and eradicate perceived threats to the communist ideology. The Red Guards, comprised mostly of students and young intellectuals, became Mao's most loyal supporters. Mao's ideological indoctrination of the youth involved promoting blind loyalty to his revolution. The Red Guards were encouraged to reject traditional culture and target privileged individuals in order to usher in a new revolutionary era, an era that was defined by economic equality. The Red Guards would go on to carry out mass persecutions, public shamings, and even violence against those deemed counter-revolutionaries. Mao's call for class struggle became a license for self-declared victims to persecute perceived enemies. Mao's manipulation of their idealism and energy led to the destruction of families, communities, and the very fabric of Chinese society. The youth, once the hope for China's future, became instruments of oppression. Now, let's take a look at one of the favorite pastimes of the Red Guards. Many think cancel culture is a new phenomenon, except it's actually quite common during collectivist takeovers. A prominent feature of Mao's Cultural Revolution were struggle sessions, which were orchestrated public humiliations and interrogations aimed at purging perceived enemies of the Cultural Revolution. In the name of social justice, anyone accused of being a counter-revolutionary or person of privilege were subjected to these struggle sessions. This involved both physical and psychological abuse, as well as public shaming. Those accused of being against the movement were forced to confess their supposed crimes and denounce themselves publicly. Struggle sessions were common in workplaces, schools, and even within families, which tore apart the social fabric by breeding an atmosphere of fear and distrust. Mao's personally crafted cancel culture provided him with societal control by promoting rampant self-criticism and mutual surveillance. Despite there being little emphasis placed on truth of the alleged offenses, those deemed guilty faced severe consequences, including loss of employment, imprisonment, and eventually even death. These struggle sessions became a tool for settling personal scores and political vendettas. Innocent individuals were often targeted, leading to widespread suffering and injustice. This is a perfect example of how those who hold societal change as their ultimate goal often have no interest in respecting individual rights and freedoms. Now, let's take a look at the Cultural Revolution's disdain for tradition. In order for tyrants to create a new future, they must first distort or destroy the past. Just like modern social justice warriors, Mao's Red Guard, who led the Cultural Revolution towards Marxism, campaigned against the Four Olds: old customs, old culture, old habits, and old ideas. These were all deemed obstacles to the establishment of an equal society. Let's go through those one by one. First, old customs, which included traditional rituals, practices, and societal norms that were considered remnants of the past oppressive society. They then went after old culture, which encompassed classical literature, art, and historical relics. The young activists zealously engaged in destroying ancient texts, artifacts, and cultural symbols, viewing them as glorifications of oppression. Next, they attacked old habits, meaning lifestyle choices, dress codes, and social conventions that were seen as bourgeoisie or counter-revolutionary. Lastly, they targeted old ideas, meaning traditional beliefs, philosophies, and ideologies that were inconsistent with their new doctrine. Any ideas which did not glorify their revolution or political doctrine were destroyed. The campaign against the Four Olds sought to reshape the very fabric of society by uprooting deeply ingrained traditions they deemed oppressive and replacing them with Maoist ideology. Now let's dive into the concept of historical privilege. Our culture's obsession with claiming people are either oppressors or oppressed, depending on their heritage and ancestry, historically hasn't played out so well. In Mao's Cultural Revolution, heritage and ancestry became powerful tools for labeling individuals as bourgeoisie or oppressors. Those with connections to landowners, intellectuals, or perceived enemies of the Communist Party were deemed class enemies, facing persecution and discrimination. Ancestral ties became a decisive factor in determining one's fate during the Cultural Revolution. The emphasis on heritage as a marker of oppressor status reflected Mao's vision of class struggle. The Cultural Revolution sought to eliminate not only current threats to communism, but also to eradicate potential counter-revolutionaries based on their family background. The Red Guards, those young and fervent supporters of Mao, played a crucial role in implementing these policies. They conducted investigations into people's backgrounds, often relying on incomplete or inaccurate information, resulting in wrongful targeting of many. The use of heritage to determine oppressor status during the Cultural Revolution underscores the dangers of oversimplified ideological classifications. It highlights the human cost of rigid adherence to revolutionary principles without due consideration for individual circumstances. With 4 of the major themes of Mao's Cultural Revolution laid out, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Does our current societal shift resemble that of China's Marxist revolution in the mid-20th century? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for future videos, and we'll catch you next time.